can see the importance regarding like the connection that it has, no, the next one please, with the United States. Through the cities of Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, and Reynosa, you can see the connection of Mexico and Central America with the most important cities of the United States. And this place has not been studied before. And here, this was the house of the Zetas. So this man, José Ricardo Matiller, the leader of the Gulf Cartel, in the end of the 20th century, he introduced the Zetas as its arm wing, which the Zetas are a group formed by special forces of the Mexican Army, insurgents of the Mexican Army, and they incorporated all other paramilitary groups, former paramilitary groups, the Maras, Caiviles, these gangs of Central America. So they are an organization that uses military tactics in organized crime. So that's an innovation, and it's a different thing that changed the whole panorama of drug trafficking in Mexico and the hemisphere. So Tamaulipas is a very, very important state to study. Well, in August of 2010, in the beginning, in February, the Zetas and the Gulf Cartel stopped working together. They separated, and the Mexican government declared war against the drug trafficking organization in 2006, and in 2010, the Zetas separated from the Gulf Cartel. So it generated a very, very violent situation in the state of Tamaulipas and in the rest of the country. But Tamaulipas was especially interesting because the levels of violence were extreme. And we have heard, I don't know if you have heard of narco raids, like for example in a couple of days, 200 bodies were found in San Fernando, Tamaulipas, because there was the kidnapping of 4 buses in the roads of the state of Tamaulipas. And in August 2010, 72 bodies were found in a ranch, all massacred at the same time by one of these organizations. So what happened in Tamaulipas has been not only those events, but several events have been happening all along the Texas-Tamaulipas border on the Mexican side and on the state itself. But the interesting part here is that the formal media was not reporting several of these events. Even, and Sergio's going to explain a little bit about probably what happened with the 72 bodies that were found, with the 72 bodies and with the 200 bodies that were found in narco raids. The problem was that the formal media was not reporting those events. The media was completely silenced. The history of the state and the control that the Gulf Cartel had on that state for several decades made that the media was working under circumstances that were not favorable for freedom of expression. And when the war arrived, there were forces, state forces and organized crime groups that were silencing this media. So the media was completely silenced. And it was very difficult to study what was happening. And my objective was to analyze the causes of violence. I tried to look for sources, and I didn't find any. And I tried to look for formal media to journalists. It was very difficult to talk with the journalists because they live under a law that's called like silver or lead, plata o plomo. They are either bought by some of these organizations or they cannot report because they are threatened and their families are threatened. So it was not easy under these circumstances to go there and to do research and to understand what was happening there. And we didn't know, just because I teach in the University of Texas at Brownsville, which is just some minutes from the city of Matamoros, Tamaulipas, which is the cradle of the Gulf Cartel and also the cradle of the Zetas in a way. So I started to talk with people, and so I started to generate like a story through the people, but also it's very difficult to interview and to conduct normal research in a state like that. And I started to see with my research assistants, with my graduate assistants, that social media users were the ones who were reporting violence. They started to say, there's a shooting here, there's something going there, and the blogs, they presented the information. So I started to follow the different blogs, I started to follow Twitter, the reports, and try to make sense of that information. And I'm trying to write my book based on the information provided by social media users, by bloggers, by Twitter users. And then I have discovered that they have improved the methods of information, and they have, and also I have observed the involvement of some organized crime groups. It has been very interesting to see how everybody is involved in analyzing, is involved in this new type of communication. Social media has also been used. That's what my observation in this research has also been used by organized crime to generate a sense of fear or to transmit some messages to the government or to the other groups. So what I do is I try to follow the different groups, but there is a group of responsible citizens that care about their families, that care about the security of the people who they care about. And they're constantly reporting what's happening, or people that have been disappeared. We don't have access to the names of information or location of people in Mexico in this war. This is a war, and this is my allegation. The number of people that have been murdered in Mexico, the practices, the number of arms, like even if the Mexican authorities don't call it like this as a war, we have seen so many manifestations of a type of war in the country. And when we have a war in the country, like the number of people who have been killed, the places where we can find them becomes unmanageable. And social media users are doing this work, presenting information about the people who have been disappeared. So you can talk a little bit about that. And I have discovered it through my research, and I'm planning to write my book with information of the social media. I just wanted to share with you how I was able to understand what's happening in a state that is pioneer with regards to the new forms that organized crime operate right now in Mexico and in Central America, and how it has been pioneer. How it has been pioneer. For example, this graph. This graph was built because of the reports and the blogs. I reconstructed the relatively new history of Tamaulipas with the information of social media. So social media, Tamaulipas is a pioneer in the usage of social media to generate information in very violent times. We can. Okay, I also developed this type of maps. Again, another. Yeah, of location, strategic location of different organized crime groups through these. This information is not available to anybody. It was done contrasting some information provided by these people. It's difficult to do that, and the only way that we could do that was through social media and the information provided by the bloggers and the Twitter community. We can. Okay, it's a pioneer state with regards to all these new forms of communication because of the tremendous amount of violence and the number of harms that are included. That have been introduced in this new phenomenon. And well, what I have observed also is that Tamaulipas is a state where the citizen journalism of war, el periodismo ciudadano de guerra, has its center. And Melissa is going to tell a little bit later how Reynosa, the city of Reynosa, has been the heart of citizen journalism of war. And my argument is because Tamaulipas is the most silent state where in the whole nation, where media is more silent than any other state. That's why the network of Twitter users that report on violence has been the most sophisticated one in the country. I can allege that, and I'm working on a study trying to prove that because of the number of hashtags. The list that report on violence is the most sophisticated one and the most active one in the country. And the hashtag Reynosa Follow was the first one that was created in the country. And that was a response to violence. So we need to understand, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this from the investigative journalist perspective, and this is going to give some of the explanation of this phenomena. And Sergio is going to talk about the coverage, and Sergio is is one citizen journalist of the Rio Grande Valley. So we have the opportunity of listening to somebody who's also doing